This is Scratch Your Own Itch, the one show that delivers the conversations that we're afraid to share, but need to. This show is all about creating a life worth living. I'm Logan Tyler Nelson, and I'm your host. So, you're going to hear conversations with creators and entrepreneurs talk about what they do, their current and past traumas, how they became who they are, and what they are truly curious about. This is the show where we talk about the things we think about a lot, but need to talk about more. Please take note that this show is not a substitute for actually creating a life worth living, because this show will stir your beliefs, make you question what it means to create a life worth living. So my promise to you is to always give you one question to answer for yourself today to start turning your dreams into a reality. Hey, ladies and gents. Oh, ladies and gents, that always cracks me up still. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. Because I know that you can be listening to any other show, but you chose this one, and to me that means the world. Secondly, this is a little bit different, because this time I'm being interviewed, not the other way around. So that's pretty cool. In this episode, you're going to hear about my personal philosophy on life. You're going to hear why podcasting really did save my life and why I'm dedicating my entire life to them now. And also you're going to hear in on some incredible ways to start taking the red pill as I talk to you about it, and how you can start being woke. #woke, really. So I'm excited to share this episode with you. I would love to read a review to you from Maxell1562, who said, Logan is really changing the way I look at life. And I really love how he goes down to talking about how the stories that we tell ourselves are ultimately our reality. And that I listened to a podcast like this at a perfect time in my life when I needed it, because I was telling myself a story that I wasn't good looking and that I was in a... Oh, wow. I paused for a moment because this review making me a little emotional. But she said, I stopped hating myself for the way I looked, and I started loving myself for the way I felt. Yeah, that's really, thank you so much. This is why I do what I do, is when I get little reviews like that. So, gosh, I'm super excited to reach out to anybody else that has this problem with having a story that they're telling themselves that just isn't true. So, really, that's just something that I want to help people with, deliver themselves a story that they want for their life. Anyways, without further ado, enjoy my interview with Colin Morgan on the Daily Grind podcast. And I can't say thank you enough so much for taking the time to listen to this. So I will see you on the other side.
Joining us on the Daily Grind today is Logan Tyler Nelson. Logan is the creator of the Scratch Your Own Itch podcast. He is a performance enhancement expert and published author on Thrive Global and Medium. Logan graduated with a BFA in acting from NIU. He inspires and motivates you to scratch your own itch so you can grow personally and professionally. Logan equips people with the tools necessary to live creative, compassionate, and curious lives, and leaves people better prepared to manage change effectively. His why is he's a suicide survivor and shares his powerful message globally. Today, Logan shares his amazing journey of how he got to where he is. So everyone, really be sure to grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and enjoy today's episode. Logan Tyler Nelson, welcome to the Daily Grind. How you doing today?
Colin, thank you so much for having me on, my man. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thanks so much. We're excited that you're here. And Logan, like, what's new? What's exciting in your world?
Oh, what's new? What's exciting? Oh, man. Well, I will tell you this. I am pretty excited to start my first company. My first company being called Only is Better Than Best Branding, which is specifically catered to those people who have a business and they're just trying to refine their message. And so they're trying to do that through podcasts rather than getting on TV shows or getting on radio stations or something like that, where it's nice to be on for 5 minutes or 15 seconds for a radio.
Yeah,
It's really nice to be on a podcast for like 35 plus minutes and be in someone's ear holes. So I'm excited for that, and the conversations I get to have about clearing up someone's story is really fun.
absolutely. And like, what is prompting you to want to do this? Like, or so, like, how has podcasting changed your life?
Hey, Logan Tyler Nelson here. So, I'm wondering, are you ready to amplify your brand and dominate your industry? Or maybe establish your credibility and really get valuable brand exposure and showcase why you're the natural choice in your niche? Oh yeah, and on top of that, crush your sales goals. And you can do this all from the comfort of your home or office. But let's say you don't have the time to go through thousands of podcasts on iTunes and find the right shows to pitch, or ones that actually take guests and target your potential ideal client. Because sometimes you'll need some help. And that's what Interviews on Demand does. We help you get on podcasts that are going to amplify your brand, increase your qualified leads, and get you valuable brand exposure. So if you're interested, head over to the link interviewsondemand.com and check us out and see what we've got to offer. Hope to hear from you soon. All right, back to the show. Well, okay. So a little bit about that. Podcasts has changed my life since the minute I started listening to them. I listened to only them for about, I say only because I only listened. I didn't have one myself for 6 years, and I'm kicking myself in the butt for not having one for the last 6 years, because podcasts, I consume that more than I did TV. I consume that more than I did reading or anything else. Really, when I was working out at the gym, I was listening to a podcast. When I was walking from each class, because I went to recently graduated a year from almost today, actually, believe it or not, from NIU, which is a college out in DeKalb, Illinois. And I graduated, and when I was going to school, I realized that there was a point where there was a happiness that was kind of missing in my life. And the happiness was when I wasn't listening to podcasts and I wasn't learning and I wasn't growing. I didn't know what to really do with myself. And I found myself going, I should really start talking to the people that I look up to. Actually, if I don't know how transparent you guys are on the show.
Yeah, open up, man.
Well, after college, I had a suicide attempt, and I did that just because I was confused. I thought I wanted to be an actor, and I poured myself into doing that. And after having a couple of thoughts of realizing that I didn't really know if I wanted to do that anymore. I wasn't sure what to do with my life anymore. And if anyone knows what it's like to pour themselves into one art or maybe a career, they might get this too, and they're really scared to pivot. I looked at myself and I was like, you know what? I don't know if this life is ever going to give me the thing that I really want. And so I jumped off a 3-story building, and luckily I'm still here. I didn't die. But the thing is I realized that our brains will play against us. They'll tell us things that aren't true. Like I remember leading up to the suicide attempt, saying to myself that, like, no one's gonna really remember me. It doesn't really matter. I had another thought of that I was ugly, that I wasn't worthy. I had other thoughts like I wasn't really a successful person because I tried acting out and it didn't work out, and I'm never ever gonna be able to be an actor. And I realized that the brain likes to go towards negativity instead of positivity. And the time that I was most positive when I was around that energy of positivity, and that was sometimes through a podcast, believe it or not, when I was talking about passions of mine with other friends that I heard from a podcast. That's when I was happiest. Or, I was happiest when I was listening to someone convey their I guess some people call it the zone of genius, when they were conveying their authority on a podcast, and I was listening to them just drop some knowledge bombs. I was like, okay, I really need to get into this more. And they say, like, you are who you surround yourself more with. And so I wanted to surround myself with people that were celebrities to me, even though, like, John Lee Dumas doesn't look like a celebrity to most, walking down the street. He's a celebrity to me. Or Jeremy Ryan Slate was a celebrity to me. Or Lewis Howes, or, all those just huge podcasting giants. So, yeah, that's how I guess I got into podcasting.
Well, I appreciate you opening up, and your story really resonates with me, because people listening, they know my story. And for you, it was acting. For me, it was golf. And that transition to realize, like, you pour your heart into an art, like you said, right? And for me, it was a sport. And to have that kind of taken away and realize that this wasn't a path, it's very difficult to transition. So for you, like, at that point, you obviously, well, first of all, we're really happy that you're okay, because you're doing amazing things now. But for you, like, what was that mindset shift for you to realize that, you know what? I'm not going to go ahead and end my life anymore. Like, I'm not going to try this. I need to do something differently. What was that shift for you?
It was, I think, it was honestly 100% I want to get something that money can't buy.
Mm-hmm.
And I often go by this philosophy. If I'm not compassionate, if I'm not curious, and I'm not creative with something, then I'm exhausted. Like, I'm usually exhausted. And so I ask myself, what is it that can make me rich but not money motivated? And so I wanted to build something. I wanted to build a community, and I wanted to reach out to people that were also having suicidal thoughts, that were very successful, but they kept on going anyways. So the mindset that changed for me was really this sort of ideology that we're fixed as our thoughts, but that's the total lie that's actually happening. It's an illusion. We're not fixed by our thoughts. What we're actually fixed by is our environment. If we get to change our environment, we will grow no matter what. It's actually harder to not rise up to the hype and be amazing if you are around people that are amazing too. So it was just that, I think, going, oh, this guy's podcast is amazing, I gotta be just as good. Or this person is making people feel like they are 130% amazing. I need to do that too to people. And I don't care if there's an entire world filled with motivational speakers, I think it's really, really amazing when someone takes the time to put out something positive. And it's really hard sometimes to like go on Facebook nowadays and go like, God, everyone seems like a motivational speaker nowadays. Who cares? Like they are lifting someone else up. And when you're feeling down, I don't know if you go by this, Colin, but when you're feeling down, you got to lift someone else up. And that's the
Absolutely.
best way to feel good.
Absolutely. And it's a lot of like what it sounds like to me is like, and it's the same thing that happened. Like you kind of get stuck in your environment. And when you don't do anything, like that's when bad things happen, right? Like when you're sitting at home and you're not motivated and you're just sitting back and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to watch TV. Like that's when you can really get consumed by your thoughts and emotions. Whereas if you just start to take action, I tell people this all the time, you just have to do something every day. And those little steps, those little incremental steps will make a mindset shift for you. Like just instead of watching TV, listening to a podcast will motivate you. And it sounds like it motivated you to listen to other podcasts. And that's what got you out of that sort of dark place, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I just can't believe the immense amount of amazing habit it is to have as a person to just listen to a podcast versus watching another TV show. Like for me, and now I kind of listen to a podcast and I'm like, yep, I'd rather do this right now than watch a TV show. Like I don't know why, but TV now to me is just kind of boring.
Yeah. It sounds like, like you always have to, you're looking to improve. Like if you're just doing something just to sit down and sometimes you do, right? Obviously, sometimes you're just going to sit back and just like shut your mind off and do something that's going to distract you. But it sounds like you're just more curious. You're like trying to get better every day.
I think it's being flawed, being imperfectly perfect is the name of the game. Like knowing that sometimes you do slip up. Like you're a human being, not a robot.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that acting school wasn't for nothing. It taught me really how to have emotional intelligence, which they don't really teach in school.
Mm-hmm.
And they should. And they should show you what things affect you, what things, what you're supposed to be doing with your life is sort of at an abundance. Now, we live in a world where there is a choice. You can be anything, and that actually is a problem. Instead of being born as a person into a family that is filled with blacksmiths, there was no choice. You just became a blacksmith back in the day, or a farmer. You were born into a family of farmers. You were just a farmer. So now we have this huge conundrum where there are people that just help other people find clarity in life. And I think that you can gain great mentors just by listening to the right people, not even being with them, but just listening to them and then sending them a few messages. I make a habit to every single podcast I listen to where someone is just pouring it, giving it all on the line, like actually telling a story that they know is hard to share. I try always to find that person on LinkedIn or find their email address and just send them, hey, I resonate with this. Please, 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 please don't forget that your message matters and that you really changed my day. So that I think making a habit of that is just an incredible way to get around people that you really admire, that putting it out on the line, like it's a sport almost.
Yeah.
Like, you got to put it on the line for golf. I mean, there's blood, sweat, and tears. When you tell your story, you got to put it on the line, and there might be blood, sweat, and tears when you put it out on the line.
Yeah, you know what? And people resonate with stories. Like, something came out with Jeff Bezos, how he, is going to more of a storytelling based. When he's doing meetings, he's not doing PowerPoints anymore. It's more like listen to this audio file and then we're going to talk about it. Because I feel like with a lot of people, and I'm sure you do, Logan, like it's hard when someone tells you what to do, right? But it's easier when there's a story involved and you're kind of coming to the conclusions and pushing over the dominoes yourself. It's much more uplifting, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I mean, in a story, it's more liquid. With PowerPoints, there's now a new skill that we have to learn as human beings to sort of like grab onto. It's more concrete, and now there's a structure, and now it becomes, am I doing this right? Rather than, no, I'm learning in the way that I need to learn, the way that I need to absorb the information. I didn't know that, by the way, about Jeff Bezos. That's amazing that he does that.
Yeah, just came out this week actually.
That's so cool, dude. Virtual high five for telling me about that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'll share with you the article, and I'll have to everyone here. But like, yeah, it makes sense too. Like for me, like it makes sense because someone tells me, "Hey, Colin, you know that 75% of people do this, right?" But if you share a story about it, and I just come to the conclusion myself, and a part of that story is that fact, like I'm going to be more prone to listen into that.
Absolutely, 100%. And so this is where it becomes an art form, really. I mean, when you share with me right there, that 75% of people do X, Y, Z. This is what I do with, some clients of mine is like, you can have, the stats and all the percentage that you want to share with your customers of the percents of success that you've had. And then you sound just like everybody else. But only is better than best is called only better is best for a reason, because when you can stand out with your story that's specific to just you and just you only, and I don't mean to come off as like pitchy. I'm excited. I'm just excited about this company. It's just that the story that someone tells is just so important. This sort of being able to go onto a podcast and be able to tell their story, have a message, and then maybe a possible call to action, which is not a sort of like I'm gaining a customer, but really it's about gaining a friend, like gaining a
Yeah.
friend that has a problem that you can solve. Because I rather do, I mean, it's just so much more fun when you have a customer that actually calls you up and goes, "Hey, by the way, I got a wedding that I'm going to in like 3 weeks, and I was wondering if you and your wife are doing anything." Like when I can make that relationship happen for a client of mine, like it fills me up. I don't know about you, man, but
For
yeah, it's
sure.
pretty cool.
Absolutely. And that goes back to people really don't care as much about what you do as why you do it. And that's why with something like what you're doing and the business that you're putting together and the people you're helping, that's why it's making that impact, is because you're not sharing facts. Like it's not me trying to be ingenuine saying, I'm going to get you on podcast. Well, I could, but it's not as powerful as someone like yourself where it's like, podcasting changed your life. It got you out of a dark place and now it's taken you to new levels. Like, to be honest, I'd rather push people your way anyways.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Like it's just because of that story. And now for you, Logan, like everything that you've been through, and I know you're still young, but obviously you've been through a lot. But say you were able to go back in time and offer a young Logan a piece of advice or a piece of guidance. I'm wondering what that would be for you.
Ah, man, that's a really good question. I I'm laughing at it because I don't think I would take it.
Hmm.
Um, I really don't think I would. I would have probably told myself, "Hey, you should start a podcast, and you should probably stop college because you're gonna have loans after this." But like you said earlier, you just gotta do things, even if they're not the right path. You'll find a way. I constantly say this to myself during the day, and I prod anyone that's listening to this that might have anxieties throughout the day. It just helps me. Whenever I say everything always seems to work out, and none of us are getting out of here alive anyway, whatever. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
it's not to like put your middle finger up in the air to everybody, because that's what you don't do. That's the way to start becoming just so not caring that you become this sort of like depressed person because you don't care about anything. It's more just to give yourself a little room to have some peace in the moment, because life is hard and just to get through a single day is hard. So for me, I don't think I could be able to tell myself a piece of advice and actually take it as a 20 year old, or maybe even a 15-year old, what would you do? Could I flip the script on you and ask you that question? What would you say to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I would give myself a lot of advice. I think one is to get curious earlier. So to know that there are other things out there other than what I was stuck in golf. And then it would be to experience as much as I could. I think that a lot of times the stuff that I went through was because I didn't experience certain things until I got a little bit older. And when I was put in those situations and put in that environment, I didn't know how to deal with it. So I kind of just did what everyone else did, or I did what someone told me I should do. And that's what led down a lot of the bad things that I did. So it's just like experience life earlier and become curious earlier.
Sorry, man, I put you on mute sometimes just to give you, absolute clarity. So anyone that's listening to this is like, why is he so late on his responses? No, it's the mute.
That's it. It's the mute. Love it. But yeah, I mean, for me, any type of piece of guidance, I wouldn't change necessarily the situations that I was in, because I think that's what brought you. That's what brings everyone to where they are. But just becoming more self-aware, more confident. I think confidence is a big thing. I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of people struggle with confidence. Even older people, they don't think they're good enough, or they don't think their product or service is strong enough, and they're hard pressed to charge more money, or they're hard pressed to put themselves out there. But going back to your point and just saying that, you know what, it doesn't really matter. You know what, life's hard, and even if you do something wrong once, like, people are going to forget about it. And just being okay with that, I think, is super important.
Yeah. Oh God, I so agree with that. At the very end that you said that. Did you know they conducted a study where they took like 50 people, and they all had them go on this sort of like examination thing about how they would come in the room, and they would say, and they would describe themselves.
Okay.
They would say like, I think it was an ad for a YouTube channel actually for a while, and they would describe themselves, and they would say, so they would go like, so who are you, and what are facial characteristics of yours?
Yeah.
And the person would say, oh well, I have a big nose. I have my teeth are a little crooked. I wish I had more of a refined jawline. My ears, I always get comments on my ears because they stick out a little bit. I used to try to have longer hair all the time growing up because I didn't want my ears to be hidden.
Yeah.
And then they would have that person that was listening draw it out, right? And then they would have another person come into the room and say, hey, what did that person look like to you? Do you recall what they looked like? Because they only saw them for a little bit because they were in the waiting room and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say things that were the total opposite. Like, oh, yeah, that person had a really nice smile, I remember. I really remember their jawline. It was really defined.
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah, I remember they had a really, like, I wish I had their nose or something like that. And and then they would turn a picture around because someone that was an amazing artist drew the picture that the person said about themselves negatively, and asked them, hey, did they look like this at all? And they're like, God, no, not at all. What do you mean? And the reason why I bring it up is because we think of ourselves always as the negative, the sort of not good enough ever. And so I always say at the end of my show is that you're enough and that you matter. And the only reason why I say that is just because of this. We forget that all the time. And I think that if you remember it just for a slight moment, 10-minute increments throughout the day, you're allowed to be confident again. It gives you permission to do whatever you're doing and to go full force at it. Because when you don't and you kind of dabble in it, it's kind of like, I know you're a golfer. If you don't go full swing at the first hit, guess what? You're gonna take 14,000 tries at getting it in the hole. But if you go hard, first hit right away, right off the bat, and you go full force, it gives you permission to be great in whatever sport you're in.
Love that. Love that piece of advice. Now, everyone, we're just going to take a lightning quick break. We're going to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back with the overtime round. Are you somebody who's been listening to the show who has a great idea, but just doesn't know where to start? Listen, you need to start taking action. And more importantly, not only do you need to take action, you need to have an idea of where the heck you're going. See, if you just go ahead and start something without a plan, then you're going to be in for some big surprises. And that's where the team at Plan to Profit comes in. Contact the team at Plan to Profit today. Get a free 15-minute consultation. And what they're going to do is take all those ideas that you have in your head, all those concepts, that big business idea, and they're going to break it down in such a way which is going to make it really easy for you to get started. So again, go to plan2profit.ca. If you're in the US, plan2profit.us. Contact the team and take advantage of that free 15-minute call today. Logan, we are back. You ready for overtime?
Yeah, man, I'm ready.
Let's do it. Logan, what motivates you to keep grinding? Like, what gets you out of bed every day and fires you up to do what you do?
Oh, wow. I think it's the immense amount of bravery every single person is doing every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens on different measures. And I really believe 100% that every single person, and I mean that, like every single person should have an opportunity to share something that's dark and deep and vulnerable that makes someone feel less alone. So that really gets me motivated and keeps me moving.
Love it. Now for you, like with what you're doing, I'm wondering, say, what's a daily routine, ritual, or habit that you have that you would say attributes to your success and getting things done?
I think it's working out. Like I work out, gosh, I'm looking back right now. I'm thinking about it. Probably 3 days or 3 times a day. I mean, 3 times a day just to get energy spikes. And I think that's the kind of the best part about being free in life and having freedom to make your own routine is by going when your energies are dropping to do the sort of work that you know you need to get done. So like, for example, for creative work and stuff that I haven't yet tried yet, I'm going to try those things right after a workout because I know my energy's high. I spiked my dopamine. I'm feeling good. So if there's anything that goes wrong during this new thing that I'm trying to learn, or maybe this creative effort that I'm trying to put together, I'm more resilient to it. I'm not less, I'm like, oh, I can power through this. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I used to back in school when I would try to learn impressions and whatnot. I always try to learn it after a workout, just because I knew that if I messed up, like I'm still okay. I just got a great workout in, so I contribute my workouts a lot to my success.
Love it. Now, I know you're a big podcast listener, but are you also a reader?
Yeah. I will read stuff, obviously, when I need to read stuff, like on the webs.
Okay. Are you a book reader?
I'm a book reader when I try to go to sleep.
Okay.
I think that reading a book before you go to sleep and I'm not perfect. I'm just gonna tell everyone that I don't do this every night. But when I know that I need to get to bed, I will rip out a book and really try to do a good 10 or 15 minutes of reading. And I actually have a little recumbent bike at home that I just kind of stroll away on while I go to bed. That just kind of gets me focused doing something because I have a little bit of ADHD where I need to be doing something else, where I have to be, some people are really bad at just focusing on one thing. I'm kind of that person. I need to be doing a couple of things at once to really get it done well.
Well, there you go. So building on that, like what's a book you've read or you're reading that you can share with our audience?
Oh, man. Yes. This is not a book that's usually recommended, but I will recommend it. It's called I Am Keats.
Okay.
By Tom Asager. And in it, it's kind of cool because he breaks it down where there's a Coleridge and a Keats. And Coleridge is the kind of person that's kind of just like planning to plan all the time. That's kind of like trying to find that perfect business idea or trying to find that perfect idea for their career, and they just keep going back to school, for example. And there's nothing wrong with school. It's just that if you keep adding up the degrees and you don't actually use those degrees for anything, you're not going to really go too far.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's this Keats guy who just is just trying stuff. He just tries everything, right? Like,
Yep.
just so, like, I mean, he does not really care. He realizes that the only time he's ever feeling bad about himself is when he's actually thinking about doing something rather than just doing it. And so Coolidge and Keats are the same person, right?
Yep.
Everyone has a Coolidge in them. Everyone has a Keats in them. And so I think that book reminds me all the time that you can kind of do these switching back and forth. There's a time to plan during the day and be strategic. And I would say that most successful people, the ones that I've really met, are just splittingly, no, I don't want to use that word, immensely amazing at just going out there and thinking about something and then just going forward with it.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean that you get a new idea every day. It just means that you stay on the road of whatever you're doing, and you travel with it full head and full speed.
Love that. Now, Logan, we have heard a lot from you today. You have shared a ton of great content. You opened up. We covered a lot of topics. I always say, Logan, like, say my audience listens back to this podcast and they remember very little, but they can go home with one thing or one thought for today. What do you want that one thing or one thought to be?
You are not rich until you create something that money cannot buy. And that is through relationships. That is through telling your story. And it's funny enough that telling your story to more people is a way to build relationships. And so if anyone is listening to this and feels really alone right now, I would say reach out. Reach out to a friend, get vulnerable, and tell them something about yourself that you're scared to tell them. Or maybe tell them something that they're doing amazing that you wish you could do too.
I love that. Now, Logan, what's the best way that our audience can reach out to you, learn more about what you have going on, and if they want to get into podcasting, get some attention, work on their story, how they can do that?
Oh, man. Yeah, email me, logan@logantylernelson.com. Also, you can give me a call. I'm not afraid to give out my phone number, 815-375-4919. 815-375-4919. Just because I realize that when you get someone on the phone, like, I want to hang out with you, first of all, before I work with you. Like, because guess what? We might not be a perfect fit for each other, but that's cool. That's all right. But if we get on a phone conversation, we get crystal clear on both of our goals and what we would like to see as an outcome, it actually takes the whole headache of doing emails for 14 days. You know what I mean, Colin?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had that before in your life.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I will share that email address and your phone number to make it really easy to get in contact with Logan. And like I said, when someone offers you an email, let alone a phone number, like, take advantage of that. Shoot him a text, give him a call, ask him what's up, and maybe something that you guys talk about could really change the way you think and change your life. And as you can see from this interview, everyone, success is driven by passion, hunger, and today, knowing you are enough. Everyone has to overcome obstacles. Everyone has a story. Start building yours today. We today had the chance to speak with the amazing Logan Tyler Nelson. Logan, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and coming on the show with us today.
Hey, Colin, thank you so much. And I just want to say, anybody that's listening right now, that's following Colin and his journey, just know that, like, this man is the real deal. Like, he's the same way he is off air as he is on air, and there isn't too many people like that. And there's not many people that just go out there on a limb and put it all out there. And I love that you're able to do that with bravery and confidence, Colin. And
appreciate that, buddy.
I appreciate you, man. So thank you. I hope this is not the last time we talk, and I don't think it will be.
It definitely won't be. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And everyone, if you like today's episode, just be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment, review, share it with your friends. Until next time, Colin Morgan signing off, and always remember to keep on grinding.